Hey, everybody, welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's January 17th, 2023. I'm Trey Crowder. That's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
Go Cowboys! Fun hanging
How
out last
about
night,
them?
bud. Yeah, thanks for coming out to console me if they lost, but it was a fun hang. The we won't don't worry, we won't talk football, and it doesn't hit for you guys. The So before we get to the show, one thing today that I found absolutely infuriating. So Davos is going on, that the yearly conference where all the world's super rich and powerful fly to Switzerland on private jets to talk about climate change.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema are there for some reason.
hmm
They were on a panel today, and they were asked about why voting rights legislation didn't pass, and they talked about how they stopped the killing of the filibuster and then high fived, and then Kristen Sinema referred to Kevin McCarthy as her good friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait for that lady to go away. Another thing, Kissinger spoke there today about
How old is he? Like,
he's gonna
he
live
got to be
forever.
ancient, right? Oh,
He's
yeah, they always do, those guys.
He's almost 100. Yeah, like the
Shit.
non-hitters live forever.
Yeah.
Uh, People with actual souls die of drug overdoses. That's the world we live in.
hmm
So he was talking about his peace plan for Ukraine, and it was essentially for Ukraine to surrender. So there you go.
Yeah.
In case y'all forgotten Kissinger's greatest hits, I saw this today. This historian at Yale named Greg Grandin estimates that Kissinger is responsible for, in part or whole, between 3 or 4 million people's deaths.
Mm.
Not just illegally bombing Cambodia, but supporting the Chilean military coup and greenlight Argentina's dirty war, where they kidnapped everyone to the left of Pinochet and tortured them and disappeared them. A Pakistani genocide. Like the guy's
hmm
a monster. Anyway, tomorrow they
Just
got an
all the
exciting
hits.
panel. They got an exciting panel on the future of human rights. So I hope he gets to speak at that too.
Kissinger opened for the human rights panel.
Yeah,
You say it's supposed to be a climate change thing primarily? Like,
they talk about all sorts of.
what does he have to do with that?
They talk about everything.
Yeah.
All sorts of global things, including basically investment opportunities for the world's elite, and how the
Mhm.
masses' political movements are getting in the way of them. So that's sad for
Yeah.
them.
I'm sure that is
Um,
annoying, probably.
Yeah. The overarching theme this year is the poly crisis, which is their word for everything falling apart. Which, as the world's most powerful people, they have no role in. It's just things that are
Right.
happening to them.
Like well, yeah,
Yeah,
everything's really bad, and we don't know,
yeah,
we don't understand what all the people are doing to make everything so bad, but I guess
yeah.
we
A bunch
should
of
talk more about it. We should just let's have a good talk, and then,
a,
stay at the
yeah,
five-star hotel and then fuck off forever again.
yeah. A bunch of warmongers and oil company execs being like, "What's the deal with climate change and all the destabilization in the global south? What the
Right.
hell happened there?"
Yeah, and they're like, "These people are not recycling enough," they're just not
Yeah,
committed to taking shorter showers and shit like
yeah.
that. Like, I'm not saying that people shouldn't do those things, but it's like the the way that's been twisted and put on regular people so
Hmm.
effectively, you know what I mean? While they just keep doing whatever the hell they want to do, the corporations and all that, and it thrown the guilt onto all of us. Like, it's up
Yeah,
to us to save the planet, and they have no part in
yeah.
it.
Just a guy, a Texaco exec with a bunch of endangered species heads hanging in his office, being like, "You guys are killing the polar bears."
Right. Yeah.
Oh, also, I want to talk about this wild ass story. So, this guy who ran for state rep, state house in New Mexico, uh, tr- he hired a bunch of dudes to shoot up Democrat politicians' houses.
Yeah.
There were 6 houses that were shot at. He apparently is only connected to 4 of them. So maybe the other 2 were just cars backfiring, or somebody shooting in the air celebrating, a college bowl game or something. But so he apparently printed out some stuff that was proof that his election was stolen, and tried to go to their houses and talk to them about it. And when they wouldn't, he just paid these guys to shoot them up.
To shoot their
And
houses. Was he like, I mean, was his plan to just it's just like a reign of terror thing, just scare them by shooting up their houses, or like, because
I
it
don't know.
doesn't seem like he was like, if the plan was to assassinate them, they could have been, probably could have drawn
Yeah,
up something better. It seems like he was just, you know,
yeah,
committing a massive felony, just for the fuck of it, sort of.
Yeah.
And
So
also being a lunatic, because that much is evident.
yeah, you stay trying to figure out the lunatic's thought process. So, but step one, shoot up Democrat kid's bedroom.
Right,
Step three, assume office in the House of Representatives. I
right.
don't think there is a step
Step
two.
2, question
So
marks. Yeah, right.
this guy's name is Solomon Pena. He's a big Trump supporter, obviously. He had post a bunch of social media posts saying he stood with Trump, and that's why he wasn't, conceding his election
Conceding.
defeat. Uh, the really dumb part of this plan was the whole point of hiring somebody so you can have an alibi, right? But he went with them to the shootings, and
They're just trying to make a day of it, just have some, have a nice boys' day shooting
yeah,
up people's houses. Yeah, that is weird to hire, gunmen and then show up. And also, you probably were about to say this, but also, like, he like lent them his car too, didn't he? Right, one of the
yeah.
gunmen got arrested driving that guy's car, so it's like he didn't exactly have all of his bases covered.
Yeah, he also texted them the plans, so he was always going to get caught. But beyond him being a humongous buffoon and a dumbass, like they shot up one of the politicians. Like the bullets entered the window of one of their kids' bedrooms. So it was like it's the era of dangerous buffoons. Like these guys are clowns and they're fun to laugh at, but it's always important to remember that fascists are always buffoons. Man, doesn't mean they're not murderous psychopaths. So
Right.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, we're dunking on him for being a dipshit, but obviously this is, some pretty freaky stuff and
yeah,
exactly the type of thing that, we're all worried about seeing more of. So, yeah,
yeah.
a little disconcerting to say the least.
Yeah, stop shooting at people's houses just because you politically disagree with them, or because you made
Yeah,
up. They don't even disagree about stuff. Like this guy you couldn't tell this guy an actual political issue as opinion on. He's just like a psycho who thinks
right,
his election was stolen, even though it was an overwhelmingly Dem district. He lost in a landslide to a Democratic incumbent. Like he never had a chance to begin with. He's just like,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, with us as always is producer Matt. This is Weekly Skews. Before we continue, I'd like to remind you of a couple of things as usual. First, if you'd like to see me live, go to TreyCrowder.com. Got a bunch of dates if you're in the LA area. I'll be at the Bourbon Room in Hollywood on Thursday. Next week in Atlanta, 3 Florida cities, then Indy, Minneapolis. A lot of runs coming up. So go to TreyCrowder.com, check them out. Come and see me. Number two, if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. You can go to weeklyskews.com/more, or you can just go on Patreon and look for my name. You'll find it either way. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We've done a whole bunch of them. We're doing one this week. It's a Q&A where we answer all the patrons' burning questions. We're having a good time over there. We hope you'll consider signing up, getting some more skews in your life. All right. As for the show tonight, it's time once again, lefties, for a big freedom roundup. That's right. They're enjoying far too much freedom on the right, and we need to go out there and take some of it back. I'm talking specifically about gas stoves. You know what to do. Get your buddy with a trailer, head out in the neighborhood, start yanking them ovens. You can get 4 or 5 in an afternoon, I think. If you got extra time, grab some of their guns too. Two birds
hmm
type of deal. Be efficient, be smart about it. Now, obviously, that's a ridiculous notion, but that's not stopping the right from treating it as a legitimate concern. We'll talk about all that silly stuff a little later. But first, of course, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, the deep state for allowing Marjorie Taylor Greene onto the Homeland Security Committee because now she can finally get to the bottom of 9/11. Hit it, Matt.
By that time in our American history, we had George Bush for 8 years. We 9/11. Sorry about that, guys. Call came in, so I had to decline it. But we had witnessed 9/11, right? We had witnessed 9/11, the terrorist attack in New York, and the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania, and the so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon. But anyways, I'm not going to dive into the 9/11 conspiracy. By that
All
time
right,
in our American history.
all right.
So go ahead.
All right. I want to rant about conspiracy theories here for a minute because 9/11 is sort of like it doesn't. No one can come up with a cause for why the deep state or whoever would do 9/11. It doesn't
Right.
make any fucking sense. You do not. It's all also we could invade Iraq. Okay, but like
Yeah.
we invaded Iraq a bunch of times already with no reason.
Right.
You don't need a
and
fucking
even
reason.
that wasn't like an actual reason for Iraq. You know what I mean? They made up a whole nother reason for Iraq, which had nothing to do with that shit. So
yeah.
I mean, I was curious so like, where is she on the 9/11 conspiracy like spectrum? Like, what does she think? Does she think Bush did it? Because like, I wouldn't have. I mean, I'm doing that thing again. I know, trying to make sense of nonsensical lunacy, but yeah.
Just think about it critically for a second. All right, if you're to have casus belli for the global war on terror, or whatever, you did not need to do something as drastic as murder 3,000 people and destroy the most valuable real estate on the planet, which is essentially what the World Trade Center was. All right. And even after you did that, you did not need to take down 2 more planes and hit the Pentagon. And you definitely would not need to stage a missile attack on the Pentagon and say it's a plane. And also, like, the thing that really drives me crazy about conspiracy theories is they ignore the real fucking conspiracies that are in the newspaper. For example, late last week or early over the weekend, Moderna announced that they're jacking up the price of the COVID vaccine from $26 a dose to $130 a dose. This is a vaccine that was paid for by $2.5 billion of government funding. It's our money. We own it. They announced they're jacking up the price, which will basically be, unless you're uninsured, will only fuck your insurance company, but that's a whole nother scam. But that's in the fucking newspaper. Get mad about that. Presumably they're allowed to do that knowing the government's going to do anything about it because of campaign contributions. That's a conspiracy. That's right there in front of you. And instead of being mad about that, being mad about what's going on in Davos, you get mad about a fucking cartoonish thing you made up in your head. Right? It makes me absolutely furious.
Well, I think it's like they, it allows them to think that, they've got their eyes open while everybody else is asleep at the wheel. Like we're all sheep and they're the only ones that are, clued in to the grand hidden truth of things, I think is the appeal for these people or something. But I mean, I remember, I think we talked about this before, but I can remember thinking like conspiracy theories were like, I don't know, like kind of neat. They were fun to talk about. I didn't believe any of them, but they were like easy to make fun of. And like, they seemed, I felt relatively harmless, like, moon landing shit and that type of stuff. And it was just kind of, almost whimsical. And then in recent years, it's really just taken a real turn and is not at all fun anymore, at least for me.
Yeah. And and then the real conspiracies, like you observe, you can see right in front of you. They go like, "Oh, so what do you think?" And then they paint some elaborate picture, like they did some cartoonish, like 9/11. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I can watch you take a bribe and do something bad. That's exactly it. Anyway, this is my way. I once wanted to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene being put on the Homeland Security Committee and how fucking crazy shit's going to get. They also did some fear mongering about Eric Swalwell, where he had some sort of like, I don't know, a woman who worked in his office who was accused of being some sort of agent for China, which he reported, and then she got deported or whatever. But they've turned Eric Swalwell into a Chinese spy, and he got kicked off committees. And Kevin McCarthy got asked about it today, and McCarthy's like, "Well, if you had the FBI, background report that I got, you wouldn't put him on committees either." Meanwhile, the FBI has publicly announced they don't suspect anything; they're just straight up fucking lying. And I also just want to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene to mention a Daily Beast story from a couple of days ago about how Marge and Lauren Boebert almost got in a fist fight in a bathroom at the Capitol. So that was fun.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to be top crazy, right? You got to fight for that crazy belt. There can be only one, I guess. Did they say that was a winner announced? Like, did one of them get the better of the other one, or it was a stalemate? What happened?
Well, Lauren ran away out of the bathroom, so I think that was the end of it, which I would highly recommend because Marge does CrossFit and is mean as hell, so I wouldn't want to fight her either. And that's why Lauren Boebert carries a gun everywhere she goes, because she probably doesn't know Krav Maga or anything.
Right. Yeah, but Marge being on the Homeland Security Committee, it's like, she going to have them looking into lasers and shit, presumably. Like, there wasn't any better committee they could have. I mean, I don't want her on any committees, but that one seems particularly egregious.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of conspiracy theories, if she like wants to make a bunch of DARPA, right, the defense research,
Yeah.
whatever, the people
Yeah.
that try to invent the weather machine. I mean, they really did try to make a weather machine, but like they
Yeah.
didn't do
They
it, of
do
course,
wild
because
shit.
it's impossible. It's the men who stare at goats type shit. Like
Yeah,
if she got
exactly.
those records public, that would really hit for me, and I would really enjoy reading
Yeah.
them. But yeah,
Yeah, I would like to see what all they're into. I bet they got murder bots and stuff going.
yeah.
It ain't no telling. All right, our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is all the boring assholes out there like me and Mark who've just had the same stupid name our whole entire lives. Let's watch this clip featuring George Santos. Or is it?
Folks, another important speaker, another congressional nominee, George Santos. George, who we know is a friend, and he's known as Anthony DeVolder to me. So I don't know where George Santos came into their thing, but that's what it says here.
All right, you cut that.
Candidate.
So this guy's got caught lying about so much shit. I don't even know where to begin. For example, there's another story today, and get that other video clip ready when you have a minute, Matt. There's another story today about where a former friend of his, Santos / DeVolder, apparently started a GoFundMe for his dying dog, and then just stole all the money from it.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. Yeah. But in case you think this name slip thing is like some sort of like miscommunication, just check out the man himself, Anthony George Santos DeVolder, right here.
My name's Anthony DeVolder. I recently founded a movement called United for.
All right.
So you think that maybe he was like in his head, he was like, well, I know I'm gonna be making up all kinds of crazy shit, and Anthony DeVolder might not inventing like a whole character or something that he was gonna run with.
I don't know what this guy's thinking, but another headline. I'm just gonna read this, Matt. You don't throw it up there. But this headline. George is at the Stop the Steal rally, and here's a headline: George Santos's former roommate says the congressman stole his $520 Burberry scarf and wore it to the Stop the Steal rally.
It sounds made up. So much shit. Well, I mean, everything with this guy is made up except for the stuff that isn't, and it also sounds made up because it's so ridiculous and on the nose.
Yeah. So the guy, like, there used to be, I don't understand. Look, everybody fucking lies about some shit every now and then, right? But the sheer volume of this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So we don't watch this clip. I want you to remember in your head that George DeVolder, Anthony Santos, whatever, did not go to college. All right, remember that while you watch this clip.
Here we go. Oh,
buffering.
Right. That's a throwback. You guys remember buffering?
Yeah, I'll just tell you what happens. Right? It's fine, Matt. So Twitter's collapsing. Everybody knows that. That's where we get our videos from. So he is on this radio show, and the host and him are bonding over his love of both volleyball and tennis because their kids play college volleyball and college tennis. And he goes, "Oh, actually, I played college volleyball. I actually went to college on a volleyball scholarship. Mm-hmm. That's why I have 2 replaced knees." All right.
Mm-hmm.
So
he goes further than that. He talks about how much ass they kicked and how everybody feared them when they walked onto the court, and how he was like the best dude on the team and all. He didn't just say I had a volleyball scholarship and that's why my knees are bad. He like really elaborated. He ruled at volleyball in the college he did not go to.
Yeah. So let's talk about what he says is his public medical history for a second. All right. He's got the 2 knee replacements from playing volleyball where he didn't play volleyball at college, didn't go to. He had a brain tumor that he treated with radiation therapy. He's got immunodeficiency and acute chronic bronchitis. Also, his mom died on 9/11. He had 4 employees die at the Pulse shooting, and his grandma died in the Holocaust. So I'm telling you that Anthony DeVolder's life seems pretty awesome, but George Santos has the worst luck of anybody I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah.
He's like everything that's ever gone wrong. Yeah.
Have you ever known personally somebody like this? Because I have. Like when I like growing and stuff, there was a guy who like would just make up. There was actually a couple of them, but one in particular would just make up the most clearly bullshit stories about stuff, and he'd do it all the time. Like he said that he saw and tried to shoot and missed Bigfoot while deer hunting, and like Bigfoot stopped and stared him down and all this stuff. He found an ancient cave filled with like artifacts and cave paintings and all this stuff while also hanging out in the woods. He used to say that like girls would literally run out into traffic to ask for his phone number. Like, and it was always some shit like that. And everybody, of course, knew that it was all bullshit, but he would still just do it with a straight face all the time. So it's like it's like a pathological liar, but it's like some people's brains just seem to operate that way. And it seems like this George Santos dude is one of them. So luckily, or, naturally, he's a congressman now.
Yeah. The closest one I got a buddy whose life is always awesome. Everything's great. Every show he did was awesome. Every girl he's ever been with is amazing. He's a huge dick, always got money. And I know him. I've known him for over a decade. And I know that.
Buddy, you don't have to bring Corey into this. Okay.
Catching strays, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's anyway. I wanted to sort of segment. It was like a weekly George Santos update, and use the Benny Hill theme music. But we can't use copyrighted music, so this just goes on Dumbass instead.
All right. Our next and I believe final honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is Chinese spies for having to go to their safety school. This is Kari Lake, who did not go away, unfortunately.
And the CCP is connected. You've educated people on that. You talked about what they're doing in research labs. How about the CCP infiltrating our university systems right there in Arizona? The Confucius Institute. They take over our research and they find a great little...
China tried to take over America by infiltrating Arizona State is the funniest fucking conspiracy theory I've ever heard in my entire life. Our buddy TJ who hung out with last night went to Arizona State, all right? It's known for one thing. It's a fucking party school.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's a party school. And it's just so funny Chinese spies just going to Arizona and getting drunk with a bunch of bleach blonde girls and being like, this is how we do it.
This is the way in right here.
This another thing is funny is she actually taught me something because there was a real sort of thing here, but it ended in 2019. Arizona State closed the Confucius Institute, and I'm surprised I didn't hear about this because it's extremely dumb. So China does a bunch of soft power stuff, and you can be suspicious of if you want, but they invest in soccer teams in South America and helping build infrastructure in Africa. They're helping invest in all the countries around the Amazon, and they help they support soccer teams and shit. And America used to do that kind of shit. We pulled back during Trump because it's under the umbrella of foreign aid, right? So China's doing foreign aid to American universities, and the Department of Defense was like, absolutely not. And I tried to figure out what the bottom of the complaint was, because what they're doing is just they're teaching Chinese and doing outreach to high schools to try to get them interested in learning Chinese and cultural outreach and exchange and stuff. And maybe that's propaganda, maybe it's spying, but there were two groups that were complaining. There are professors who worked at the college who thought it was a bad sign for academic freedom because they're worried about censorship. And then the DOD was just did a bunch of scare bait and scaremongering, red baiting bullshit. And under Trump, when they passed the National Defense Authorization Act, there was a thing where the DOD would not give money to schools that still had Confucius institutes. So basically, we'll give you $750,000 a year to support your Chinese language programs, or you can keep the Confucius Institute. So almost all of them we'll take the DOD money instead because we don't want this fucking headache. But anyway, Kari Lake's a psycho, and she's still running around pretending to be. She's literally calling herself the governor and pretending to be governor, and calling Katie Hobbs a fake governor, and scaremongering against a thing that hasn't existed in Arizona or Arizona State for 4 years. So there you go.
So the DOD said we'll pay for all that stuff just as long as you don't allow them to do it anymore. Right. All the Chinese culture outreach and Mandarin language programs and stuff. It's wild how much money they got just laying around and how it's all just completely cool with everybody. You know what I mean? I get their guess. It's if anybody's going to be teaching Chinese, it's us, God damn it, not the Chinese.
What if one of these young students, it later joins the military, but in college he made a Chinese friend and therefore doesn't want to go to war with them? That'd be bad, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fucking stupid. Maybe they legitimate complaints. I don't know, but there's nothing made public that these institutes were doing anything but teaching people how to
Right.
do calligraphy Chinese characters and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, speaking of fucking stupid, let's get into it. Gas stoves, everybody. I'd somehow missed this when it first started. I just started seeing all the crazy tweets from like Republicans about, fucking come and take them, but about their ovens or whatever. And I was like, what is going on
Yeah.
here? I've since heard a little bit more about it, but yeah, this was a good one,
Yeah.
even for them.
This is I think we have an interesting show, but it's about a topic that should be very fucking boring. It should be fucking boring. That's the thing I want to say about this. This is another ginned up fake controversy, but it appears like this one has legs, so I wanted to talk about it. But it raises a lot of interesting questions to me, like what the fuck are they even talking about? And what do these people think the government does or should do, right? Because none of it touches base with reality or what basic government functions. Anyway, it's also like pretty bleak to me about what it says about the hollowness of American culture, especially on the right. But I'll explain that at the end, because it's like the stuff they're hanging on to is utterly meaningless. It's not the Bible and guns. It's fucking random products and shit. And I don't really understand how like enough Americans have lives so empty that they're so worried about fucking shit like consumer brand choices and government regulations of how much methane gas stoves can release or whatever. But like how this is filtering through the right, I want you to see this video compilation of hilarious Fox News hysteria.
So with that in mind, the Biden administration is considering a ban on gas stoves in the name of climate, but really it's for your own good. If America puts up with this, probably put up with anything.
Want to come into my kitchen? And what are you going to do now? Are you going to knock the doors down to see if I really have a gas stove? And by the way,
could the Biden administration be coming for your gas stove? The answer is yes.
And politicians have been telling us for a long time, because of climate, you're not allowed to have a gas stove.
This is about getting rid of natural gas. Follow the money, Harold.
With that comment.
Absolutely. I'm a cook. Nobody's going to tell me I can't cook with gas. First of all, any good cook cooks with gas. It's an immediate up, down, low, high, and I...
Safety? We've had these stoves for over 100 years. It's totally fine to give fentanyl to addicts, but a gas stove is a threat to your life? To use a natural gas stove in your home because of emissions, but they're not concerned about smoking meth? Like it's
for now, the talk is focused on banning gas stoves, but it won't be long before they also come for gas fireplaces. And
I mean, you have to consider that it's part of a broader movement that thinks that Western civilization is a terrible thing, that we're founded on slavery.
I just want to get to there, Matt. So the government might mildly adjust regulations around gas stoves, so therefore this is because the left wants to destroy Western culture. So. Right. Another panel they're on compared this to
the demonstrably pro meth also, like we're, and I guess it goes back to that was handing out crack pipes or meth pipes or something like that was another thing they came up with. Is that what they're referencing? But it's like, who's just totally unconcerned with the smoking of meth,
My cousins. But so
other than people who love to smoke meth, I mean.
Another panel, Jesse Waters, compared this to prohibition. It was like, prohibition was a bad idea. So it's like, governments ban some stuff and other stuff. That's everywhere. Every government in world history. Banning stuff isn't the same because you're banning. Anyway, none of this is based on reality. We'll talk about the reality, the actual reality, what the government's considering doing. But none of this is about anything. But like, the prohibition thing was like, so what do you imagine, like organized crime is going to take over the gas stove racket or some shit? And also that panel somehow led to criticism of AOC's fiance for being broke. And I could explain to you, the connection with there was like AOC made fun of someone for panicking about the gas stove thing. Someone dug up an old video of where she'd filmed in her kitchen where she had a gas stove. And she's like, well, I rent. I didn't choose to have a gas stove. And they're like, ha, 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 your fiance is too broke to afford a house. That's it. So, but
I mean, I have a gas stove for the same reason. We rent the house we're in LA, and that's just the fucking stove that came with it. I mean, gas stoves hit for me just fine. I know we haven't even gotten into the report yet, but like, I thought, because I've got children, and so I mean, it's a little bit concerning to me, but I'd never known. To me, it's one of those things where it's like, it seems like everything will kill you or will harm you. Do you know what I mean? At a certain point, it's like it's always something like in California, they got that regulation where they put like a poster or a sticker on stuff that's like, we found that this contains things that might cause cancer, and it's just all over the goddamn place. And you're like, well, at a certain point, I'm going to kind of just not worry about it as much because it seems like it's all bad out here in these streets. So
if you guys have ever been to California, there's literally a thing hanging on every building here that says there might be chemicals in there that can kill you. And my mom visited, it really startled her. I was like, no, it's just there.
It's just fine. They're everywhere. Yeah.
But more on the panic. Ronnie Jackson, the pillhead former White House doctor, is now a congressman from Texas. If you guys don't remember him, he posted this: "I will never give up my gas stove. The maniacs at the White House come for my stove. They can pry it from my cold, dead hands. Come and take it." There's like a bunch of this shit. No one's coming. Again, we're going to get into this, but no one's coming for your fucking stove. Matt Gaetz also said you can pry it from my cold, dead hands. Jim Jordan tweeted "God, guns, and gas stoves." Joe Manchin got on the act too, saying no one's going to come and take his stove, which is true. No one's going to come and take your fucking stove. And even if they did, you're going to get a fucking shootout with the cops over or getting an induction oven instead. I don't know.
Yeah, and you could do that because no one came and took your guns either, which they've been screaming for 30 fucking years or whatever. I mean, yeah, we never get around to coming and taking all this stuff. We're so desperate to come and take from these motherfuckers, evidently.
Yeah. I quit my day job to do comedy full time right about the time Obama was elected. I lived in Texas at that point, and my girlfriend at the time, we lived together. I was going to be on the road a lot, so she wanted to get a gun to feel more safe at home alone. We went to the gun store. I was just trying to get her like a 5 or 6 shot revolver, just something to make her feel safe that would scare someone off if they try to get in her yard or some shit, right? And the guy at the store, they were selling Obama targets. And his sales pitch was, you should get all the guns you ever might want because Obama's going to ban guns. You should stock up on ammo. And if you go look at ammo and gun sales, they always surge right after Democrats elected because that's a huge meme. Anyway, the only gun-related bill that Obama signed expanded gun rights and let people take guns into federal parks. Anyway, so how we got here, let's go back to reality for a second before we talk about the panic again. It all started with an extremely misleading article printed by Bloomberg, based on a quote from one commissioner at the Consumer Product Safety Commission, a guy by the name of Richard Trumka. He said, "This is a hidden hazard," maybe true. "Any option is on the table. Products that can't be made safe can be banned." All that's true individually. And he's no way threatening to ban stoves. He's one guy on a 5-man commission that still doesn't get to make all the rules at once in general. He can't just will gas stoves out of existence by himself, nor can all 5 of them. But if you recognize the name Richard Trumka, his dad was a big-time labor leader who died in 2021, I believe. So what the Consumer Product Safety Commission does, it makes rules about product safety, right? So when it finds something that's a hazard, or when Congress orders to do so, it can make rules based upon design requirements, or they can mount product bans if it comes to it. But it's not nearly the first fucking step. They have to follow rigorous, I'm quoting here, rigorous scientific process to develop mandatory rules. Failing to do so can justify the revocation of a rule, as was the case in the 10th Circuit decision vacating their ban on small, high-powered magnets. All right? This is tedious bullshit they do. I'm glad someone else does it.
Right.
Because I don't want to do it. All right? They're based in Bethesda, Maryland. They have 500 employees total. Trey, how long would it take to confiscate every gas stove in America with 500 employees?
Yeah, ever.
Yeah.
As Bernie Mac said, it's a long time if you take the 4 off that motherfucker. So yeah, ever. Yeah, but also they're a governmental agency, and efficiency is not super high within those. And it's like, even if they said tomorrow we're going to come round up all the gas stoves, I think like all of our children would still be cooking with gas before they ever got around to actually doing that, which they're not going to fucking do. But so dumb question, but like if this same agency, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, under Trump released the same report, like they had the same findings or whatever, would anybody be saying anything about any of it, or would have just flown completely under the radar?
Well, Trumka wouldn't have been appointed by Trump, so whoever he appointed probably would have been like, the research Trey is referring to is a new study that says that children who live in stoves and gas houses have like marginally higher rates of asthma. And like, I imagine Trump wouldn't have appointed anybody who cared about that. and they would have known not to speak up. And if they had, it would have either flown under the radar because no one would have thought the government was going to do anything, and Fox News wouldn't have ginned up bullshit about it, or Trump just would have made a show firing of a guy for even bringing it up, right? So, but as far as the stuff they could do, they could. It's a wide range. They could just put warning labels on new gas stove sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just warning labels, like the stuff like the ones hanging out in California parking garages Trey and I were just talking about. Or they could make or request design adjustments like range hoods or like performance standards for like how the gas is dispersed or whatever. This is all again extremely. They're mad about something so boring, and the process is like a long period of public comment, and then like scientific findings. Then they make recommendations. And then they confer with the industry, and lobbyists are going to lobby Congress to get them to stand down. And they go round and round. And then if they fuck up the regulations, if they're not worded specifically enough or don't have sufficient scientific basis, the first court to get a hold of them would strike down after the industry files a lawsuit.
Right.
So,
and wouldn't it also just kind of work with the way we've done like vehicles over the years? You know what I mean? How they all used to be death traps and whatever. And it's like, but gradually more and more like, safety regulations are, instituted or whatnot. So the new cars that come out, like they didn't get rid of all the old fucking Corvettes and everything is what I'm saying. They didn't round those. Just the new ones that come out are safer because they have these new requirements that were, passed and whatnot. And it would be the same type of thing with gas stoves, even if they did anything at all, which I bet they probably won't. But even if they did, it'd be something like that. You go to buy a gas stove in the future and it's going to be a different kind that has a ventilated range hood or whatever that comes with it. And that's the only kind you can get. And that's pretty much it.
Right. It would not affect any existing gas stove. It never in any world would affect any new gas stove. It's like this is such made up horse shit. Anyway, to study Trey's talking about. So it was a new peer-reviewed research. It came out last month in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. This is really fiery stuff to get. Anytime the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health drops new heat, you got to get real mad about it. So anyway, they basically found.
Those people are like, well, I did not see this shit coming. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no.
On these studies, and this is their job and shit all the time. Like they never thought it would make all the headlines and trend on Twitter and all that shit. Like, I wonder if it's exciting or just really shitty for those people.
Yeah. So what they're saying, they say they found, and it was peer reviewed, but I don't know if anybody else is going to do a companion study or whatever, is that 12% of current childhood asthma cases in the United States can be attributed to gas stove use. So 1 in 8 kids who have asthma, they're saying wouldn't have asthma if they didn't live in a house with a gas stove. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know. There probably need more studies, and people can argue about it. Whatever. And by the way, I do want to agree with you. Cooking with gas does hit. It decreases your scrambled egg cook time by like 30%.
There you go.
So when the stove, so basically natural gas is mostly methane, right? What happens is when you turn your stove on, it releases methane, which is the second most problematic greenhouse gas. And once the burner on, there are other pollutants accumulating in your kitchen, including carbon monoxide and formaldehyde. The biggest concern is nitrogen dioxide, which causes cardiovascular problems and respiratory disease. But I've seen people quibble with the research who are smart and I respect, who are like, but there are a lot of contributing factors, and it could be like where you live, or maybe the kid's also eating lead toys or whatever. You never fucking know with all this shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not a peer-reviewed scientist, and if I wanted to think about any of this shit, I would have gone into fucking science instead of going into writing dick jokes for a living. All right. So so I was trying to figure out what the fuck could even happen with this, and it's like, this, whatever happens, is going to be years from now. We'll be in the middle of the second Trump administration before the Product Safety Commission tries to do anything. There's going to be like 6 months of public comment, including from the gas industry. The range of stuff they could do before they even got anywhere close to bans were new performance standards to make sure they're filtering out emissions, requirements that they be sold with a ducted hood to vent outside, like Trey talked about, or the most drastic step would be a ban on import and manufacture. All right. So no new gas stoves, but currently 40% of American households have gas stoves. Right? It's a ton of people. Nobody's taking them. But
do you know, like with like lead, as you mentioned lead, and also asbestos and shit, like were there uproars about those things when it was happening? Like were people like, come and take my fucking asbestos, motherfucker, or like, do you know how that all played out?
The lead one was funny because I did research that for something unrelated recently. But so the lead industry did try to generate it, right?
Mhm.
It tried to gin up public outrage, and it didn't work because people were more worried about their kids' safety, right?
Yeah,
But they
right.
tried to be like when they tried to take lead out of gasoline, they're like, they're taking away your superior fuel.
See,
And
that's kind of why I asked, because I feel like, you know, if that was happening now, there'd be outrage about that too. Like the lead industry would have been successful in doing that in our current society, which is just a real shame.
yeah,
You know,
it's
like people used
something.
to hear like, oh, shit, super dangerous. I guess we better stop doing that. Thank you, the government, for finding out what was making us all stupid and everything. And now everybody's
Yeah.
just all stupid, and they're like, we want to keep all that stuff.
There's something deeply ironic about the fact that we're the generation who would be stupid enough to fall for the lead industry's bullshit about how they're taking away your superior fuel, and we're the generation whose brains weren't poisoned by lead.
By lead, right? Yeah.
So, like, what the fuck? Maybe we were smarter with lead brain poisoning. I don't know, but like, at the bottom of this is like, I don't know if it's part of the Fox News universe thing where they've turned politics and government into like try to make it an entertainment TV program. But I don't understand why these people can't accept that government's boring. It's fucking boring, and just let it be boring. And not everything is like a struggle between good and evil. And if there is a struggle between good and evil, the natural gas industry is not going to be on the side of good. All right. And something like Jesse Waters said in that first clip we watched, where he's like talking about them banning, they want to get rid of natural gas, and he goes, "Follow the money." It's like, what?
Mhm. Right.
Are you saying
That's
the oil and
just the
gas
thing
industry?
they say, right?
The oil and gas industry is nonprofit, a poor little struggling nonprofit mom and pop, and they're being taken down by big climate or some shit. And anyway, like Trey said, you would get to keep your fucking stove. Again, 40% of American households have gas stoves. No one will require you to replace it. If you wanted to, if you want to keep the same quality of cooking, but not worry about the fumes, you can get an induction stove if you want. But either way, like the real problem for the long-term survival of gas stoves is infrastructure, because demand for natural gas is dropping as people move away from fossil fuels. So there's not going to be the market to keep natural gas lines running to your house. That's going to be the thing that turns off your gas stove, is the gas industry and the pipeline industry is making different choices about how to distribute fuel supplies. All right. So it's going to be the natural gas industry that pivots, that's going to fuck you out of your gas stove. Anyway, but like going back to like what government does, I'm agnostic about whether or not the government should ban gas stoves. All right, I don't have one currently. My old apartment, we did have one. I don't know whether it gives kids asthma. I don't know any of that shit. But like, this is the kind of thing a government does. Any government in the world will like try to keep products safe and keep its citizens safe, because that's the social contract we have with the government. We pay the government taxes in exchange for the government doing whatever it can to keep us alive. That's the basic trade-off, right? Like,
Right.
But for American conservatives, that just means the army, and it just means bombing brown people. But like the government does a bunch of other shit, like inspecting meat, right, and regulating the stock market. But like the social contract works differently in every country. Like, for example, in China, food security is a big thing because they had a big famine in the 60s and 70s. And basically their deal with their government, as long as we have food in the shelves, we don't fucking kill you all, right? That's why during COVID, there was big food shortages and people were worried about instability there, because that's their one deal, right? It's their one deal. Here, I was trying to think of what's our main social compact with the government? It's like, we pay taxes in exchange. You just don't lose any big embarrassing wars.
Yeah. We keep our kick-ass tanks and boats and stuff, and they do a great job of that. You know, well, not losing wars, I guess, but keeping all the badass stuff floating and banging and popping and everything. They're real good at that.
Yeah. Well, that's why they're bad at Biden, is not because he lost Afghanistan. Afghanistan was already lost. It's because he publicly looked like he lost.
Right. Yeah. But that's what I was saying. Like, I just think that like it's literally just that, like, if they were in power and they found out something was dangerous, and again, on this, it seems like it's nebulous at present, but like if they came out and said this shit is dangerous, I don't think you'd have any kind of uproar whether they said, well, we have, these are the steps we have to take or not. It's literally just, you know, it's a Biden administration thing, so it's truly outrageous and unacceptable, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, if it happened under Trump, maybe what they do is make a bigger scaremongering deal about gas stoves, and then he'd be like, "Oh, we're going to pass a bill to give everybody who wants one an induction oven." And then you'd find out that some induction oven company had given Jared and Ivanka a 25% stake or some shit.
Yeah, right.
That's more like what they do. But like this is also like I don't think the government, even if they wanted to regulate gas stoves, would be able to get it. I have very little faith they'd be able to get it done in this present moment because like to me this goes in the
Right.
bucket of like things just generally don't work anymore right now.
No.
Like the Southwest Airlines, there's no airline regulation, so Southwest just went out of business over Christmas for like 2 weeks, and no one can get anywhere, and they lost a bunch of people's luggage and lost a bunch of people, and shit like that. And like the FAA shut down a couple of days ago. I have no idea what happened there. I didn't follow it closely because I wasn't flying, but like that seems weird. Like that doesn't go. But like to get so ginned up over this, let's say the government did ban it, like. The government did a bunch of regulatory shit in the 1970s that absolutely would not fly right now. For example, among the many examples, they took the Ford Pinto off the fucking street because the gas tanks kept exploding. Now, if that happened now, a bunch of papaws would be joining militias to defend the honor of the fucking Ford Pinto.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that they put this to a vote or whatever, but I mean, like, flavored vape products or whatever just got banned in California. You know what I mean? Like, shit does get banned, but it's like they don't. There's no consistency in it. You know what I mean? It's not. It has nothing to do with freedom or whatever. It's just like if it's shit they like and it's the wrong side saying it needs to be banned, then that's fucking communism or whatever. But anything else, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really look into why the vape thing happened or who the lobbying interests were. I mean, maybe a straight up cigarette company just trying to put vapes out of business or something. I don't know. But like this stuff is like going back to like again the particulars of the gas stove thing. I'm not interested in because like this is stuff that a government does, and what you do, especially in democracy, we get a say in it. If they do something that's overreaching or nanny status, you can fucking vote the bums out and vote in somebody more libertarian or whatever if you want to. But also, if you lose the vote, you take the L and move on. That's what a democracy is, right? So if you think Joe Biden and the Biden administration has overreached by appointing Richard Trumka Jr. to pop off about gas stoves, you can vote for somebody else next time around. That's your right. But what this isn't is a moment that requires a revolution. All right.
Right.
But in prior times, this type of shit was utterly fucking normal. All right. Let's talk about the Easy Bake Oven for a second. All right. The Easy Bake Oven had a war/partnership with this Consumer Product Safety Commission. They tried to figure out how to keep a bunch of kids from burning themselves. They did a series of voluntary recalls that the Product Safety Commission requested. And then when kids still kept burning themselves and Hasbro figured out they're going to get sued, they finally pulled the one product off the line permanently in 2007 after a 5-year-old girl's finger had to be amputated because of severe burn. Now, if that happened in 2023, there'd be people marching the street with guns saying they had a Second Amendment right to an Easy Bake Oven. But like these panics are so fucking ridiculous. Like I remember this one from 2014. If you pull up this headline, Matt, this is a headline from 2014. The GOP's relentless crusade to save America from commie light bulbs. Do you remember this panic?
Yeah, when the newfangled, more energy efficient light bulbs started coming out and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, they had big protests where they bought a bunch of the new light bulbs and stomped them.
I'll show them.
And the reason why it's like it was basically environmental reasons, but also saves people a bunch of money on their light bills, and because it uses less energy, but while also making better light. They're literally just protesting having a much better light bulb.
Yeah, it's just better, right? They just made it better, and they were like, "No, fuck that," because it was implied that it could the environment a little bit, and that's gay or whatever.
Right. This part fucking killed me because they did research, like a public opinion surveys with people of a bunch of diverse political opinions, and they took a set of conservatives and a set of liberals and explained to them about the light bulbs costs and how much money they cost more up front, but they save you so much money in the long run. At this point, both groups were very pro the light bulb. But then when they put a label on it saying it's better for the environment, all the conservatives turned against the light bulb. They decided not to save the money because it also helps the environment. That just fucking
Right.
made me laugh.
Exactly.
So anyway, there was a big panic about the light bulbs in 2014. Fast forward to today. This is a news story from this month, or for a couple months ago. The United States will phase out incandescent light bulbs. It's actually happening. They're going to be gone. No one's noticed or fucking cares. Right. And we're lagging behind the rest of the world in this kind of shit. My stuff not working anymore. Brazil and Venezuela started to phase out in 2005. The EU, Switzerland, Australia did it in 2009. Argentina and Russia in 2012, and then Canada, Mexico, Malaysia, and South Korea in 2014. In the UK, there's still an ongoing fight about it, where this phenomenon is being referred to as light bulb socialism. So there you go. It's not just our dipshits are like this, Trey.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's mama dipshit there, the UK. You know what I mean? They're always pretty good about going hand in hand with some dipshittery.
Queen dipshit, not madam dipshit, mama dipshit. Oh. But like, there's like, but the fact that like all these are consumer product stuff, like, it's something really like depressing to me about it, because we talked about, like, everybody remembers they burned the Nikes and smashed the Keurigs. We talked last week about they're turned against M&Ms because M&M has female mascots now. They want to go back to when M&Ms were boys. Trump used to rant about low flow toilets. All the people who fuck up their trucks on purpose to roll coal just to, troll the libs by making a bunch more pollution and running up their gas bill. There's nothing behind it. Like, when you think about like the promise, whether you consider this like fascism's promise of like a return to an idealized past, or whether it's just good old days syndrome for your childhood. Like when they talk about how, like, remember the famous clip of Trump before he was elected being like, they're making a girl Ghostbusters. You can't do that. Like, it's like that kind of shit. Or like, all this stuff is like, and now it's light bulbs and gas stoves. It's like, these are just commercial products that were invented fairly recently. It's not like cultural attachments like religion or the Bible or guns. It's like, it's a commitment to like something so incredibly fucking hollow that it just like makes me depressed. That like, that's the thing they're hanging their whole identity on, is like cartoon toys that are in cartoons from childhood being changed, or M&M logos and toilets and fucking, it's just like nothing has kind of made me feel more sad about all these people are going to die mad over nothing than like, you check out this from Ron DeSantis fucking trying to capitalize off this shit. If you got it, Matt.
Here we go. Matt's pulling it up. But yeah. Yeah, it's just, that's America, buddy. I'm depressed by the hollowness of it all.
Yeah.
Our gas stoves away from us. That is your choice. And I know many people who cook a lot do not want to part with their gas stoves. And so we're going to stand up for that.
All right.
What a hero, man.
America, I mean, we do have actual culture, right? Like we invented country music and stand-up comedy and jazz and the film industry largely. And like, there's stuff you could be proud of that isn't M&M logos.
Right.
Anyway, so Matt, you found some comments.
Indeed. Yeah, Matt, some comments and stuff. I think he accidentally put one up earlier from somebody, I didn't catch the name, said they were thinking about the Ford Pinto recently because they used to ride in those a lot. I'm glad that you didn't explode and you're here to watch us today.
Glad you get rear-ended. Yeah. Sorry, Ralph Nader took away your sweet ride. While we're waiting for comments, this is a funny story. So
day 18,300 and counting says this is conservatives gaslighting. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I wanted to mention this. So Missouri lawmakers passed rules about with a stricter dress code for women. They're making women cover up their shoulders if they serve in that.
Well, yeah, you can't have salacious ass shoulders just hanging out, people trying to get laws made and stuff, and you're over here,
it
causing
kind of
impure thoughts with that clavicle of yours. Cover it up. Have some decency, lady.
It was kind of funny because a woman actually proposed this rule, so I guess maybe she's insecure about her shoulders or something. I don't know. But like, they're like, well, the men have to wear suits and ties. And I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't, but it's funny they're trying to mandate men and women dressing more alike at the same time they're trying to like doing the whole I know what a woman is bullshit.
Yeah. Say what on YouTube says Papaws will defend the Ford Pinto. Yeah.
I never rode one before my time. Yeah.
Dan Arnett says, "Hey, I'm a papaw." Yeah, we got some good
Me too.
papaws around. There's some lovely
Yeah,
papaws out there.
I
It's
feel like a
just
papaw most of the time. So
okay. Nevitz Forever says Wyoming lawmakers propose a ban on electric cars. A group of state legislatures are seeking to end sales of new 2035 in an effort to protect Wyoming's oil and gas industries.
yeah, they've been sabotaging electric cars.
So
The
yeah,
weird thing
that's
about
about right.
the CEO of Tesla, his weird right wing turn, is like his business has been sabotaged at every go by right wing
Mhm.
legislatures from Congress, Republicans in Congress trying to cut off like early support fundings for electric vehicles, or like this is in the weeds, but like cars, most states make cars be sold through dealerships, right? And since a lot of car dealers are in state legislatures, that's an important like racket protection thing for them. And Tesla's business model was to deliver cars straight directly to your house, and so they were doing that just to fuck Tesla. And he apparently loves
Yeah.
them for it. So yeah,
Wasn't there some story from like, I don't know, the 70s or like decades ago where there was like a new innovative like electric engine or something that was developed and it got bought out and buried by the by Detroit or
yeah,
Big Auto or something. I don't know if I'm making that up, but some shit like that. And it's like why there's no public transportation worth of fucking LA is also because of big car fucking everything over. I thought of these while we were talking too. Michael Gilbert says, "You can take my 70s lawn darts game when you pry it from my cold impaled thigh." I think it was me and Corey maybe on putting on airs. Some show I did, we ended up looking up lawn darts, and it was like, I think it was like 3 kids that died, which is too many from lawn darts. But I would have thought, if you told me to guess, I thought it was like the way I've always heard about it. I thought it was an epidemic of kids impaling each other in the yard and shit like that back then. And that's why they had to go. But like, it's a good example. I mean, that's, if those stats were, if they were a phenomenon today and those were the stats, like people would be losing their fucking minds. Like what he just said, people would be saying that unironically. Leah Tuchel says, I hope I got that right. Says, my Easy Bake Oven made lots of cupcakes for my future snowflakes. I didn't know. I had a little sister, but she never had an Easy Bake Oven or wanted one. And, ironic. I mean, I would have, now I love the idea of an Easy Bake Oven. I could have really got into that, I think, because I love baking. But anyway, I never realized they actually like did shit. Like I didn't know that. I thought they were just like a toy and they were just fake. I thought there was like a red light or something in it. I didn't know they were like little ovens. could actually bake stuff. I mean, I've known that for a while, full grown person before I found that out. Like my whole life until the past 10 years or so, I thought they were just a toy that didn't do shit.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. You probably couldn't ban lawn darts right now. They'd find some right wing judge who'd rule the Second Amendment protects your right to have lawn darts or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Maybe
it's like they take. Sometimes shit gets taken away when it's dangerous, and again, stuff like we said with the vapes, like shit still does get taken away. It's just part of what happens. But like nothing's getting taken away right here. They're always so terrified about things getting taken away that are never going to be taken away. Like there's just no like logical consistency to any of it, which again,
a bunch of people have been mad as hell for almost 2 whole weeks because 5 years from now, there might be a warning sticker on your new gas stove. That's essentially what this is about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You got another one for us, Matt, or no? Matt's out there.
All right. Well, I got one last hit for you if you want to hear it. There's a headline I read earlier today. January 6th defendant stabbed in the nose during jail fight over Tucker Carlson show. So a bunch of the January 6th defendants are watching Tucker Carlson in the jail rec room or whatever, and a bunch of people are like, "Hey, that guy's racist." And they go, "No, he's not." And they got a fist fight over it. One got stabbed in the nose, and now they're talking about how they have targets on their back because the whole prison thinks they're racist. And I mean, I imagine being known as a racist in prison is probably a tough situation because the mass incarceration of the people you're racist against.
Sure, that would be an obstacle for them. Man, they've really had it rough in jail. All this time I thought jail wasn't so bad, but now that these guys are in there and I'm hearing their reports, it seems like it's pretty terrible.
I'm also really curious about the mechanics of stabbing someone in the nose, about how that happens. Yeah.
Chinatown shit.
Yeah.
You just cut the nostril. Ugh. Anyway, all right. we're about to close up shop here for the week, but remember, go to TreyCrowder.com, get some tickets, come see me live. There's the dates, still adding more as we speak. Also, go to weeklyskews.com/more or go on Patreon, search for my name. Sign up and get some bonus skews in your life and support the show in the process. Either way, what's important is that you keep coming back here every Skews D and doing this with us, which we truly do appreciate. We'll see you 7 days from now. See you. Love you. Bye.